The cameras flash. The pristine beaches of paradise fade into memory. A reality TV favorite's life changes with one routine scan, and just like that, Bachelor Nation holds its breath. Welcome to Start Scope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today's deep dive is centered on a story that, honestly, completely shatters the illusion of the perfect influencer life. We are looking at a headline that genuinely stops you in your tracks. It reads, Bachelorette star reveals doctors found a possible brain tumor.
Yeah, it's heavy. We are exploring the sudden, terrifying diagnosis of reality TV royalty, Joe Amabile. And before we really get into the weeds on this one, if you're loving these deep dives into Hollywood twists, make sure you subscribe. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
For sure. So, to truly grasp the magnitude of the shockwave this sent through the entertainment world, I think we have to look at the specific space Joe Amabile occupies in the reality TV ecosystem. Like, this isn't just a fleeting contestant looking for 15 minutes of fame.
No, absolutely not. This is grocery store Joe.
Right. Grocery store Joe. And his trajectory is basically the ultimate reality TV fairy tale. For those of you who might not, follow the Bachelor franchise religiously, Joe debuted back in 2018 on Becca Kufrin's season of The Bachelorette.
Which is wild to think about now, considering how famous he is.
Exactly. Because the fascinating thing is he was actually eliminated on night one. But he had this incredible, awkward, genuine charm that completely captivated the audience. Like, the fans literally demanded more of him.
Yeah, that groundswell of support was so intense that he immediately pivoted to competing on Dancing with the Stars that very same year. I mean, the momentum was crazy.
And then, of course, he became an absolute staple on Bachelor in Paradise.
Right, he was on seasons 5 and 7. And season 7 is really where he cemented that picture-perfect, true love storyline with Serena Pitt. Millions of people watched them navigate their relationship, overcome all those obstacles, and ultimately get engaged right there on the beach in Mexico.
They really invited the public into their most intimate moment.
They did, which led to them officially tying the knot in a courthouse ceremony in October 2022, followed by this absolutely beautiful, glossy, magazine cover second wedding in Charleston in 2023.
Oh, the Charleston wedding was stunning. If you scroll through their social media, their life just looks flawless. It's this endless feed of anniversary dinners, eating pasta in Charleston, walking glamorous red carpets. It is the absolute pinnacle of the influencer dream.
But then, just recently, that manicured narrative completely fractures. Joe posts a highly vulnerable direct-to-camera video on Instagram.
And it was so raw.
Totally raw. The glossy filter is gone, the lighting isn't perfect. He reveals that he went in for a Prenuvo whole-body MRI scan, which, by the way, is an elective preventative scan that has become incredibly popular among influencers lately.
Yeah, everyone seems to be getting them.
Right. And that scan uncovered what he described as a blueberry-sized lesion in his brain.
A blueberry. It's such a vivid, terrifying way to describe an anomaly in your own head.
Yeah, it really puts an image to it.
He explained that he had to get follow-up brain MRIs, which suggested this blueberry-sized spot is actually an early-stage glioma, which is a specific type of brain tumor. Because of that, he announced he will undergo a craniotomy in just 2 weeks at Memorial Sloan Kettering to remove and test the mass.
What stands out to me is the sheer velocity of that pivot. To go from celebrating your second wedding anniversary, smiling for the cameras and shooting down pregnancy rumors, to suddenly prepping for a craniotomy at a major cancer center in the span of a single month. I mean, it is a profound psychological whiplash.
Think about it from his perspective. It's one thing to feel sick, go to the doctor looking for answers, and receive a diagnosis, right? It's a completely different psychological trauma to feel perfectly healthy, go in for a purely preventative scan just to be proactive, and walk out scheduling a surgical team to open your skull.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like getting a full-body scan when you feel fine is like looking under the hood for a routine oil change and finding a cracked engine block. Like, you're grateful you caught it early, but it completely derails your life. You go in thinking you're just optimizing your health and your reality shatters.
That is a perfect analogy. And that leads to a quote Joe included in his announcement that I found incredibly poignant. And he talked about his initial hesitation to post about this at all. But he ultimately decided, and I quote, "This is now part of my life now, so might as well."
Wow. So might as well.
Yeah, it's this reluctant, heavy acceptance of a new, frightening reality. He is realizing that you can't curate or filter a brain tumor.
Right. When your reality suddenly involves brain surgery, the vocabulary changes overnight. We go from red carpet updates and brand deals to clinical words like lesions and gliomas. But what do those terms actually mean when you're the one sitting in the doctor's office staring at a scan?
That's the scary part, not knowing what you're looking at.
Exactly. So later in this deep dive, we're going to get into the shocking medical realities nobody sees coming, so definitely stay with us.
Yet to understand what Joe is really facing, we need to look at the medical data. We pulled from sources like WebMD and Scan.com UK to decode what an MRI actually shows us. Because when the doctors first told Joe he had a lesion, it's important to understand that the term itself is incredibly broad.
Right, it's not super specific.
No, not at all. A lesion is essentially a catch-all medical term for an area of tissue that has been damaged through injury or disease.
So wait, if you or I are looking at our own MRI results and we see a white spot, it's not automatically a tumor?
No, definitely not. An MRI uses powerful magnetic fields and radio waves to map the brain's soft tissues. Because different tissues have different water contents, damaged or abnormal tissue usually shows up as a bright white spot on the scan.
Okay, so a white spot could be a lot of things.
Exactly. According to the medical literature, a brain lesion could be the result of a bacterial infection forming a pus-filled abscess. It could be an inflammatory response from an autoimmune disease like multiple sclerosis, where your immune system is actively attacking the protective coating of your nerves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or it could even be a vascular issue like a mini stroke where blood flow is temporarily cut off.
That brings up a massive question, though. If a lesion could theoretically be infection, an autoimmune flare-up, or just a tangle of abnormal blood vessels, how do they know for sure it's a glioma before they even cut into his head? Like, how do they narrow it down?
That is where the science of neuroradiology becomes fascinating. While lesion is a broad term, radiologists don't just look at a white spot and guess. They look at the specific characteristics of that spot.
Like the shape and stuff?
Yeah, where is it located? Is it pushing against the surrounding white matter or infiltrating it? But the biggest clue actually comes from contrast dye.
Right, I've heard of that. They inject a contrast agent, usually gadolinium, into your veins before the scan.
Exactly. And here's how that works. Tumors, especially growing ones like gliomas, need a massive blood supply to feed themselves. So they actually grow their own chaotic, leaky blood vessels.
Leaky blood vessels. That sounds awful.
It's biology trying to hack itself. When the contrast dye hits those abnormal leaky vessels, the tumor lights up or enhances on the MRI in a very specific, recognizable pattern that is entirely different from how an infection or a stroke scar would look.
So the dye essentially acts like a biological spotlight. It illuminates the blood vessel structure so the doctors can see the actual architecture of the lesion.
Yes, precisely.
And in Joe's case, the architecture strongly pointed to a glioma, which is a tumor that originates in the glial cells, the cells that act as the physical glue and support system for the brain's neurons.
Right. However, imaging only provides incredibly strong clues. It is not a definitive diagnosis. The surgery itself is both the treatment and the final diagnostic tool.
Which brings us to the National Comprehensive Cancer Network, or NCCN, guidelines for central nervous system cancers.
Yes, the gold standard oncology playbook that neurosurgeons follow worldwide.
Let's look at what that actually means on the operating table. What exactly are they going to do to Joe at Memorial Sloan Kettering?
Well, the standard of care outlined in the NCCN guidelines for a suspected glioma is a procedure called maximal safe resection.
Maximal safe resection. That is a phrase that carries an immense amount of weight.
It really does, because it describes the ultimate surgical tightrope walk. The surgical team basically has two directly competing goals. Goal one is gross total resection, meaning they want to aggressively remove the entire blueberry-sized mass from his brain.
Get it all out.
Right. But goal two is minimal surgical morbidity.
Meaning they absolutely cannot cause permanent brain damage while trying to get the tumor out. Taking out a glioma isn't like removing a solid marble from a glass jar. Because it grows within the brain tissue, it's more like trying to remove a drop of blue dye from a sponge without tearing the sponge itself. The edges are just so blurry.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. The boundaries between tumor and healthy brain are often visually indistinguishable to the naked eye. So the guidelines state that the surgery must balance aggressive removal while actively avoiding what they call eloquent areas of the brain.
Eloquent areas. What does that mean exactly?
Eloquent areas are the specific regions responsible for your vital functions, your motor skills, your ability to understand language, your speech, your vision.
So how do they map that out? If they can't clearly see where the dye ends and the sponge begins, how do they avoid those eloquent areas?
This is where surgical technology is truly mind-blowing. They use tools that act like a real-time GPS for the brain, allowing surgeons to map exactly where their instruments are relative to the patient's specific brain anatomy. But even more incredible is a technique frequently mentioned in the guidelines, the awake craniotomy.
Wait, awake? Like the patient is conscious while their skull is open?
Yes,
That is terrifying.
it is, but it's crucial. Depending on where the tumor is located, the neuroanesthesiologist will wake the patient up right in the middle of the surgery. And here's why they do it. If the tumor is near the speech center, the surgical team will actually have the patient speak, count numbers, or identify pictures on flashcards, while the surgeon gently stimulates the brain tissue.
So if the patient's speech suddenly starts to slur, or they can't name the picture on the card, the surgeon knows they have gone 1 millimeter too far.
Exactly.
That's how they protect those eloquent areas in real time. Wow.
It provides instant, undeniable feedback. It's amazing. But, once the surgery is complete and the craniotomy is closed, the protocol remains incredibly strict.
Right, because the NCCN guidelines don't just say, stitch him up and send him home to rest.
Not at all. The official oncology guidelines demand that a post-operative brain MRI must be performed within 48 hours of the surgery.
Why specifically 48 hours? Why not a week later?
Because after surgery, the brain naturally starts to swell and scar tissue begins to form as part of the healing process. If they wait too long, that swelling and scarring will obscure the MRI images. They need to get him back into the machine immediately to get a crystal clear, new baseline.
To see what's left.
Right. They have to see if they successfully removed the whole blueberry or if any microscopic fragments of that glowing contrast dye remain.
And what happens to the actual blueberry they took out?
It goes straight to an experienced neuropathologist. This is where the tissue undergoes extensive molecular testing and they finally get that definitive diagnosis. They aren't just looking at the cells under a microscope anymore. They are looking at the tumor's specific genetic signature.
So they're looking at the DNA of the tumor.
Yes. They test for certain genetic mutations, which tells them exactly what kind of glioma it is, how aggressively it's programmed to grow, and what follow-up treatment Joe might need, like targeted radiation or chemotherapy.
It is a massive, high-stakes medical gauntlet. It really strips away the whole celebrity veneer and puts into perspective how fragile we all are.
It really does.
And hey, stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because as we explore how the Hollywood and reality TV world reacts to this kind of crisis, it reveals something really profound about the culture of fame. And trust me, that's not even the wildest part of how this story unfolded.
No, it's not, because the reaction to Joe's news was truly unprecedented for this specific community.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
When you're facing a surgery that maps the literal speech and movement centers of your brain, the petty drama of reality TV instantly evaporates. And that's exactly what we saw happen in Bachelor Nation.
If you look at the broader picture of modern influencer culture, reality TV ecosystems are almost entirely fueled by conflict.
Oh, without a doubt. Bachelor Nation, the Bravoverse, it's an entire economy built on manufactured drama. It's breakups, podcast feuds, Twitter wars, scandalous tell-alls, competing for the same brand sponsorships. The community is usually highly fractured and highly competitive.
But Joe's announcement caused an immediate, total shift in that paradigm. The entire ecosystem dropped the script, dropped the rivalries, and flooded him with a massive, unified wave of support.
It started, of course, with his wife, Serena Pitt. She posted this incredibly steadfast message right at the top of his video saying, "You're so strong and we're going to get through this together. I love you."
Which is vital to highlight, because navigating a brain tumor diagnosis as a newlywed couple is an unimaginable stress test for a marriage.
It's the ultimate in sickness and in health moment.
Exactly. But beyond Serena, the outpouring from the broader reality TV network was instantaneous.
The comments section of his post essentially turned into a who's who of reality television just being human. You had Joey Graziadei stepping in saying, "Sending all the love and support, brother. Can't wait to play a round of golf when you're all better."
Yeah, and heartfelt messages from Katie Bigger, Andrew Spencer, and Jason Tardik.
Even Zach Clerk chimed in, highlighting Joe's character rather than just his TV persona. He wrote, "Love you, bro. You are a great friend to me and many others. You are going to get through this and then help a lot of people." And it extended far beyond Bachelor Nation, too.
Right, his Dancing with the Stars family showed up in force. Alan Burstyn wrote, "Bro, you know how much I love you, sending you so much positivity and support. You got this." Emma Slater and his former dance partner Jenna Johnson also sent intense love and prayers.
It was a complete closing of the ranks. It's almost like the reality TV world is a strange, dramatic high school. They might bicker and feud on screen for ratings, but the second a real-life crisis hits, they instantly drop the script and circle the wagons to protect their own.
It's a great way to put it. And this collective reaction reveals what I think is a fascinating phenomenon in modern fame, something I like to call the parasocial insurance policy.
That's an interesting concept. What do you mean by a parasocial insurance policy?
Well, historically, public figures and celebrities often hid their medical battles. They wanted to maintain an illusion of perfection, of untouchability. But reality stars build their entire audience through vulnerability.
Right, they sell their real lives.
Exactly. Joe built his fan base by being the awkward guy who got dumped on night one, by sweating through dance routines on live TV, and by letting cameras film his actual marriage proposal. When you build a community on radical vulnerability, you essentially create an insurance policy of empathy.
Oh, I see.
So when a real tragedy strikes, that audience and that peer group doesn't pull away. They instantly mobilize to support you.
That makes total sense. It contrasts the superficiality we usually associate with influencer culture with a hidden, profound utility. Like, we often criticize social media for being fake, but moments like this shatter that illusion. It proves that under all the filters and sponsored posts, there is a very real human connection.
Yeah, a shared humanity.
When Joe says, "I wasn't expecting this, something like this never happened to me," he is voicing our deepest, most universal fear of mortality.
He becomes instantly relatable. Because at the end of the day, underneath the fame and the millions of followers, he is just a guy terrified of a shadow on a medical scan. And that shared humanity is why his peers rallied around him so fiercely. It reminds us that the people on our screens are navigating the exact same fragile, unpredictable existence that we are.
So to bring this all together, Joe Amabile, a guy who genuinely went from running a grocery store in Chicago to becoming a reality TV icon, is now facing down a highly complex craniotomy at Memorial Sloan Kettering. He's incredibly lucky that he took that elective scan and they caught this early-stage glioma when it was just the size of a blueberry.
Very true. The standard of care, that delicate maximal safe resection we talked about, is heavily dependent on catching the tumor before it has the chance to grow deep into those critical, eloquent areas of the brain.
Right, before it gets into the speech and motor centers.
Exactly. He is heading into this high-stakes surgical intervention with a massive unified support system standing firmly behind him, which is a psychological advantage you just cannot overstate.
Absolutely. We are definitely keeping Joe, Serena, and their families in our thoughts as they navigate the immense pressure of the next few weeks. But as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought to ponder on your own, something that really stems from the very origin of Joe's story.
The scan itself.
Yes, think about that Prenuvo scan. We are entering an era of elective, full-body MRIs, where anyone with the financial means can look inside themselves at a moment's notice.
It's a massive, unprecedented shift in how we approach our own personal health care.
It really is, but it begs a really heavy question. Will finding every hidden blueberry-sized anomaly before it causes symptoms save our lives, or will it plunge us into a new age of constant medical anxiety?
That's the double-edged sword.
Are we truly emotionally prepared to know everything going on inside our own bodies? It's something to think about.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.